Hey, you. Ever think about how you actually start your day?
Hmm.
Like, does it feel like you're setting the stage for a great run? Or are you just kind of stumbling into whatever the day throws at you?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right.
And it's exactly what we're digging into today. We're looking at the morning routines of folks who've really made a mark, successful entrepreneurs.
Okay.
Now, when we talk about a morning routine, we're not obsessing over who wakes up at some, crazy early hour.
Yeah, not just the 4 a.m. club.
Exactly. It's more about those deliberate habits they've built, things they do intentionally to get themselves in the zone for whatever comes their way.
Totally. And to get a good feel for what works, we've gone through a ton of interesting stuff.
Yeah, we looked at quite a bit.
We're talking articles from places like Forbes and Hello Brio, some cool insights from the Founder Institute, and even a whole bunch of different routines, like I think it was 171 of them.
No, that many.
Yeah. Plus, we've peeked at what people are saying on Reddit, watched some really insightful YouTube videos, folks like Andrew Ethan Zhang, Adrian Finch, Alex Hormozy.
Or Mosey's stuff is intense.
Oh, yeah. And even some thought-provoking clips from Men Quote, not to mention some interesting research from Drexel University. So a real mix.
Definitely a broad look. And what's really cool about looking at all this isn't just, being nosy about how other people live.
Haha. Yeah, not just voyeurism.
No. It's about finding those little nuggets that you can actually use, whether you're building a company or maybe just trying to feel more on top of your day.
Or dial down the stress a bit.
Exactly. Understanding these common and, effective morning habits can be a real game changer in reaching your own goals.
Okay, so our mission here basically is to break down these routines.
Unpack them a bit.
Yeah, unpack them, figure out the key ingredients that seem to make a difference, and give you some ideas that you can actually try out.
Sounds good.
Okay, so let's get into it. Why? Why does having a morning routine even matter? Is it really that big a deal?
Well, it turns out it can make a pretty significant difference. We saw this statistic, something like 92% of really productive people have some kind of morning routine.
92%, that's huge.
It is. And you think about people like, I don't know, Oprah or Warren Buffett, they often come up as examples of people with pretty consistent morning rituals.
Right.
But it's not just about those big names. There's actually science behind why it works. Things like getting into a good rhythm in the morning can, boost your energy.
Which I think everyone wants more of.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it can actually reduce your stress levels, which naturally leads to being more productive throughout the day.
Yeah, that totally clicks. If you start your day feeling scattered, it's like you're playing catch up from the get-go.
Precisely. You're reacting instead of acting.
It's about getting ahead of the curve a little bit, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But here's a really important point that came up in several of our sources, like again and again. There's no one-size-fits-all magic routine.
Ah, okay. So no silver bullet?
Nope. What works brilliantly for one person, even someone super successful, might be totally wrong for someone else. It really boils down to what your personal goals are and, the kind of lifestyle you lead.
Makes sense. It has to fit you. So give us a peek behind the curtain then. Who are some of these successful folks, and what are some of the things they do first thing? Are there patterns?
There definitely are patterns. We've got some classic examples. Tim Cook, who heads up Apple.
Right.
He's known for being a really early riser. Apparently, he tackles emails, gets some exercise in, and has some personal time before the main workday even really begins.
Wow, okay. Productive start.
Then you have Ariana Huffington, co-founder of the Huffington Post. She puts a huge emphasis on first getting enough sleep.
Which we'll definitely talk more about later.
Oh, yeah.
Huh.
And then meditation, setting her intentions for the day. For her, it seems like well-being is really tied into her professional success.
That's a great perspective.
And then there's Richard Branson, who pretty consistently wakes up around 5 a.m. no matter where he is in the world.
5 a.m. Talk about commitment. But what about folks who aren't necessarily early birds? Is everyone in this super early club? You mentioned it's not one size fits all.
Right, not necessarily. While getting an early start does seem to be a common thread, some perspectives, like Jenny from Hello Brio, remind us that it's totally okay if that's not your natural rhythm.
Okay, good to hear.
She makes a great point that someone's 5 a.m. might be another person's 8 a.m., and the important thing is finding what aligns with your own body clock and lifestyle.
So it's about the intention, not just the time on the clock.
Exactly. Although, that said, it was interesting to see in that big collection of 171 routines.
Yeah.
A lot of entrepreneurs do wake up quite early. Like, we saw Kaja Kalejian at 4:45 a.m., Jessica Walsh even earlier at 4 a.m.,
4 a.m.
and Taylor Davidson at a super early 3:45 a.m.
Whoa. Okay, so maybe there's something to that early start for many people.
It seems so. While not mandatory, getting a head start on the day seems to be a popular approach, maybe to get that focus time before the world wakes up.
Okay, so it sounds like waking up before the main hustle and bustle is a pretty common theme, even if the exact timing is different. Let's dive into the actual habits then. What are some of the key things we're seeing come up again and again?
Okay, well, one of the first things for those who do aim for that earlier start is the way they actually wake up.
How so?
There's some smart tips here. Using natural light if possible, letting the sun help your body wake up,
Yeah, the gentle approach.
having a consistent alarm, and Jenny from Hello Brio even mentioned some interesting alternatives like haptic alarms on a watch.
Oh, the vibrating ones.
Yeah, that vibrate you awake, or
Mhm.
timed lights that gradually brighten, mimicking sunrise,
That sounds much nicer than a blaring alarm.
doesn't it? We also saw in some Reddit discussions the idea of leaving your phone in another room.
Ooh, that's a tough one for many people, I bet.
It probably is, but the idea is you're not tempted to immediately start scrolling the second you open your eyes.
Right, avoiding that reactive mode from minute one. That's a great idea. I know I could definitely benefit from that. Okay, what's next on the list of common habits?
Hydration. This one came up a lot.
Just drinking water.
Yep. Lots of our sources emphasize the importance of drinking water pretty much as soon as you wake up,
Mm.
not just for physical energy, but also for that mental clarity.
Kind of wakes up the brain, too.
Exactly. Jenny from Hello Brio specifically mentioned drinking a big glass of cold water right away. It's such a simple thing, but it can really make a difference in how you feel.
Okay, simple but effective. I like it. Rehydrating after sleep makes sense. Now, what about the flip side, those digital distractions we keep hearing about,
Ah, yes, avoiding those is a really, really consistent piece of advice.
like the phone, email?
Your phone, email, the news, social media, they're often seen as major roadblocks to having a proactive and focused start.
Because they pull you in different directions.
Precisely. The idea is to really carve out some time for your priorities before you get pulled into everyone else's world.
Yeah.
Alex Hormozy, in one of his videos, talks about being super strict about minimizing distractions.
I believe it.
And one of the 10 time management tips we looked at even suggests turning off all notifications, even those calendar reminders first thing.
Wow, all of them.
Seems extreme, but it's about protecting that initial part of your day, creating a boundary.
It's almost like creating a little zone of peace and focus in the morning. Okay, so in that zone, what should we actually be doing then?
Right, what fills that space?
Hmm.
The key here seems to be creating before consuming.
Creating before consuming. I like that phrase.
Yeah, several sources stress the importance of working on your own goals, your own projects, those more creative or strategic tasks, before you even think about checking emails or the news.
So prioritizing your own output first.
Exactly. We saw examples like Warren Buffett taking time to review his investments, or James Clear focusing on what he calls deep work during this time. Andrew Ethan Zhang mentioned that he does quickly check for truly urgent emails, because of different time zones maybe.
Right, practical reality sometimes.
But then he makes sure to shift his focus to his more creative work later in the morning. It's all about taking control of your own agenda rather than just reacting to what comes in.
That makes a lot of sense. Being proactive, not reactive, setting the pace for your day. Now, how do these successful folks keep their days on track? Is there a planning element usually?
Oh, absolutely. Planning and setting goals are habits that come up again and again. It's huge.
Like planning the whole day out?
It can be. This includes setting those bigger long-term goals, but also, crucially, breaking them down into smaller daily tasks that feel manageable.
Okay, less overwhelming that way.
Exactly. The 10 Time Management Tips article really highlights this. Many entrepreneurs will actually make a specific plan for their day, setting out their clear priorities.
Do they use specific tools for that?
Some do. Some use digital tools or apps. Others might use a simple notebook, whatever works. Creating a list of daily goals. And even using affirmations, those positive statements, is another technique they use.
Affirmations, huh? Tell me a little more about why those might be helpful. I'm sometimes a bit skeptical.
Yeah, I get that. But the idea behind affirmations is, well, by consciously stating what you want to achieve in a positive way, you're sort of programming your brain.
Priming the pump.
Kind of.
Yeah.
You're more likely to actually work towards it, and you're also cultivating a more motivated and focused mindset right from the start of the day.
Okay, I can see that. Setting a positive intention.
And a really practical tip that we saw quite a bit related to planning
Yeah.
is planning the night before.
Ah, getting a head start on the morning.
Exactly. This helps to reduce what's called decision fatigue in the morning. You wake up and you don't have to waste mental energy on small stuff.
Like what?
Things like picking out your outfit or getting some of your breakfast prep done. It frees up your brain power for the more important things.
Less morning brain fog about the little things.
Right. Even just quickly looking at your task list the night before, like some folks on Reddit mentioned, and maybe picking out some easy wins you can tackle first thing.
Gives you momentum.
Yeah, gives you a nice sense of accomplishment right away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've already checked something off.
So less, what do I even need to do today? And more. Okay, let's get started on these things. Makes perfect sense. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Physical activity. Exercise seems to be a pretty common part of many successful morning routines, right?
Definitely. Huge component for many. Getting some physical activity in the morning is widely seen as a great way to boost your energy, improve your mood.
Endorphins.
Exactly. Reduce stress, sharpen your mental focus. We saw examples like Sarah Blakely doing yoga, Howard Schultz hitting the gym, Oprah going for a run.
Wow, diverse activities too.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be one specific thing. There was even a NASA study mentioned that showed a significant improvement in performance for those who exercise regularly.
Interesting. NASA says so.
Right. The key, as the Founder Institute pointed out, seems to be consistency, just doing something regularly.
Makes sense.
They also suggested that exercise can even be a good way to spark creativity.
Oh, like going for a walk to solve a problem.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
We heard about Andrew Ethan Zeng fitting in his gym sessions, and Adrian Finch tries to get to the gym or even uses a desk bike while working sometimes.
A desk bike.
Yeah.
Multitasking.
Apparently. And it doesn't have to be hours either. Even if it's just, say, 20 minutes of some kind of vigorous movement, it can be really beneficial.
Good to know. Doesn't have to be a marathon.
Not at all. And don't forget, incorporating little micro breaks for movement throughout the day, not just in the morning, can also be helpful.
Okay, so moving the body helps the mind get going too. What about intentionally calming the mind? Is mindfulness or meditation a big part of this?
Absolutely. Mindfulness and reflection are really significant components for a lot of successful entrepreneurs we looked at.
How does that usually look?
Well, meditation is a common practice. Just taking time to quiet the mind, maybe clear out any negative energy before the day starts.
Setting a calm baseline.
Exactly.
Right.
And also reconnecting with your deeper purpose. Focusing on what drives you beyond just, making money. That seems important too.
Finding the why.
Right. Think about Tony Robbins focusing on gratitude and his intentions, or Arianna Huffington and Jack Dorsey with their well-known meditation practices.
So some big names really prioritize this.
They do, even just visualizing a successful day ahead, like Adrian Finch does with her vision board.
A vision board. Interesting.
Yeah, or Bill Gates apparently sets aside specific time just for focused thinking. These are all ways of being intentional with their mental state.
So it's not just go, go, go. It's also about pausing and reflecting.
Definitely. Practicing gratitude, which Adrian Finch and some Reddit users mentioned, building in dedicated time for thinking and reflection that fosters creativity and strategy. And as the research from Drexel University suggests, mindfulness practices can be really effective in managing stress and boosting productivity, patience, and overall happiness.
It sounds like it's all about starting the day with a sense of intention and a really clear, calm mental space. Okay, we can't forget about fuel. What role does nutrition play? Breakfast time.
Right. Eating a nutritious breakfast is generally considered really important for having sustained energy and being able to concentrate well through the morning.
Avoid that mid-morning crash.
Exactly. Opting for things that are rich in protein and fiber is often recommended. Keeps you fuller, longer, more stable energy.
Any specific examples jump out?
Well, Andrew Ethan Zeng mentioned that he sometimes cooks breakfast or goes out to eat, often with his partner, so it can be a social thing too.
Nice.
Whereas Adrian Finch apparently eats the same breakfast every single day.
Reducing decision fatigue again.
Exactly. It highlights how routine can even simplify something like your morning meal. Takes one more thing off your plate, mentally speaking.
So it's about fueling both your body and your mind effectively. We've covered so much already. Are there any other interesting little habits, maybe slightly less common ones, that tend to pop up?
Definitely. There are a few others worth mentioning. Making the bed.
Making the bed, really?
Yeah, it's surprisingly common. Mentioned by several people, including Adrian Finch. It's seen as a way to create an immediate sense of accomplishment.
Your first task of the day, done.
Right. And apparently it can even reduce stress right off the bat. Small win.
Okay, I might try that one. What else?
Getting some sunlight exposure early in the day, going outside or sitting by a window.
Why is that important?
It helps regulate your sleep-wake cycle, your circadian rhythm, and also boosts your vitamin D levels.
Ah, syncing up with nature.
Kind of. Listening to music or podcasts for inspiration came up too, like Andrew Ethan Zhang listening to lo-fi music while he works.
Setting the mood.
Yeah. And even interestingly, briefly looking at positive news developments to feel inspired or informed.
Positive news.
Hmm.
That might be hard to find sometimes.
Uh-huh, true. But the key reminder here, again, is being mindful not to get sucked into passively consuming too much before you've had a chance to create.
Right, the create before consume rule.
Exactly. Having some kind of accountability system is another one, whether it's to-do lists, online tools, or even just checking in with a friend or colleague.
Keeping yourself honest.
Building in a little extra buffer time for tasks also helps reduce stress. And turning off all those digital distractions, like Alex Hormozy does, including calendar notifications, can really help with deep focus.
Yeah, that level of focus seems key.
It does. It's all about prioritizing effectiveness over just being busy. Focusing on those must-do tasks, as Jenny from Hello Brio advises.
Not just spinning your wheels.
Right. And it was also interesting to see on Reddit that even really simple routines can be super effective for some people. Like one person's routine was literally pee, chug water, meditate, walk outside, stretch. Done.
Basic, but covers key areas: hydration, mindfulness, movement.
Exactly. And if hitting the gym isn't your morning style, some folks mentioned fitting in hobbies they enjoy to start the day positively.
Oh, like reading or playing an instrument?
Could be anything.
Yeah.
And we even saw the suggestion of taking a cold shower on Reddit.
Ooh, brave for wakefulness.
Yeah, for an immediate wake-up call and maybe a bit of a discipline builder. If you could do that, maybe you can tackle anything.
Wow, that's quite a collection of ideas. But I imagine it's easy to, slip up when you're trying to build these kinds of habits, right? Did the sources talk about common mistakes, especially around self-care?
Yes, absolutely. And these are so important to be aware of because you can have the best routine planned, but if you fall into these traps...
It won't stick, or you'll burn out.
Exactly. One big mistake mentioned is putting off self-care until you feel like you've made it or are successful.
The I'll rest when I'm successful mentality.
Yeah, that one. The reality is, taking care of yourself is absolutely fundamental to being successful in a sustainable way and avoiding burnout. Self-care isn't a reward, it's part of the process.
That's a crucial distinction. What else?
Another common issue is not setting clear boundaries, especially with work and clients.
Letting work bleed into everything.
Right. So implementing things like specific no working days, setting defined working hours, and really managing expectations with clients, those are crucial.
Protecting your time and energy.
Many entrepreneurs also fall into the trap of trying to do absolutely everything themselves, not investing in getting help when they need it.
The superhero complex.
Sort of. Delegating tasks that cause you stress or that someone else could do better or faster can make a huge difference in your overall well-being and free you up for higher value work.
Good point. What else?
And then there's just the simple act of not treating yourself well on a basic level. Things like, eating quickly over the sink instead of taking a proper break or constantly sacrificing sleep.
The small things that add up.
They really do. It's important to remember that self-care isn't just about buying things or logistical fixes. It's a whole mindset.
How you approach yourself.
Exactly. Some find it helpful to combine self-care with business, like organizing business retreats with friends. Ultimately, it comes down to recognizing that you deserve to be taken care of and paying attention to how you're actually treating yourself day to day.
Those are some really valuable reminders. It's easy to neglect those basics when you're driven. And we can't talk about how we start our day without touching on the absolute foundation of it all. Sleep. Mentioned Ariana Huffington prioritizes it.
Absolutely critical. We can talk all day about routines, but if the foundation isn't there,
It all falls apart.
pretty much, aiming for around 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep each night is absolutely vital for both your mental health and your overall performance.
And what happens when we don't get enough?
Well, not getting enough sleep or enough quality sleep can lead to all sorts of problems we probably all recognize. Feeling sluggish, irritable,
Definitely irritable.
having trouble concentrating, increased stress levels, even feeling down or sad more easily.
It impacts everything.
It really does. And as the folks at Drexel University pointed out, skimping on sleep is definitely not the same as working harder. That's a myth.
The Elon Musk work 100 hours thing isn't necessarily the model.
Well, that quote about working like hell was mentioned as his approach, but the consensus in much of the material we saw, and from sleep experts like Dr. Thanuja Hamilton mentioned in the Dressel piece, is that sacrificing sleep actually undermines your effectiveness. It's about the quality of the time you are awake and working.
Making the hours you do work count more.
Precisely.
Hmm.
So all these fantastic morning habits we've been talking about won't be nearly as effective if you're constantly running on fumes. Sleep has to come first.
Got it. Foundation first. Now, we've sprinkled in a few individual examples throughout our chat. Maybe let's just quickly circle back to a couple just to see how some of these principles come together in real life.
Yeah, good idea. We talked about Jenny from Hello Brio.
The minimalist routine.
Right. Hers is really focused on getting her important creative work done before her regular 9 to 5 job starts. She really emphasizes flexibility, finding what truly works for you, and she's a big fan of planning things out the night before.
Practical and personalized.
Then Andrew Ethan Zhang. He keeps his mornings relatively simple, checks those urgent emails, gets his workout in, and then transitions into his creative work in his dedicated space, his office or studio. He also values having flexibility in his day.
Less rigid structure, more flow.
Seems like it. And Adrian Finch's routine really stood out for its focus on self-discipline right from the start, making her bed and then moving deliberately into her mindfulness practices.
The meditation, vision board, gratitude.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All that before she even starts planning out her day's tasks. So mindset first, then planning.
So it's really clear, isn't it? There's no single magic formula, but there are definitely some core principles that keep popping up across all these different successful people.
Exactly. What we're seeing is that successful morning routines are first intentional. They don't just happen.
You have to design them.
Right. They're personalized, tailored to the individual, and they frequently prioritize getting proactive work done, taking care of both physical and mental well-being, and having a clear plan for the day ahead.
And the great news for everyone listening, I think, is that you don't have to suddenly adopt like 10 new habits tomorrow morning and completely overhaul your life.
Oh, gosh, no. That's usually a recipe for failure anyway.
Too much too soon.
Yeah. The best way to approach this is probably to think about experimenting. Pick just one, maybe two, of the habits we've talked about that really resonate with your own goals and your current lifestyle.
Something that feels doable and appealing.
Exactly. See how it feels. See what kind of positive difference it makes for you. Maybe it's just drinking that glass of water or not looking at your phone for the first 15 minutes. Small steps.
Okay, so here's a little food for thought as we wrap up then. Thinking about everything we've discussed. What's one small change, just one tiny tweak that you could make to your morning routine starting tomorrow? Something that might actually lead to a pretty significant difference in how your day goes, and maybe even eventually in reaching those longer-term goals you're working towards.
Just one thing to start.
Just think about one actionable step you could take. And hey, if you already have a morning routine that you absolutely swear by, or if you decide to try out some of these ideas we've discussed,
We'd genuinely love to hear about it. How does it work for you?
absolutely. Let us know it clicks.